Hello, this is Jay Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. First, we have Quebec man who blamed 2023 wildfires on government pleads guilty to setting 14 fires from CBC.ca from Clorox. And that just goes to show you that, a lot of people, sometimes they blame the government, but, that doesn't mean they can be much better. With that being said, I definitely do think the government is one of the greatest purveyors of environmental pollution and disasters, and that's why I think it's a good reason, to make them smaller or get rid of them altogether. So that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have that journalists should treat world leaders differently based on whether they are allies of the U.S. government or adversaries, is to posit journalists as agents of the state, and thus their behavior should align with U.S. foreign policy. That's the role of the State Department spokesman from Glenn Greenwald on Twitter, and I posted that and I said, we need to stop calling them journalists and start calling them what they really are, propagandists. Tucker Carlson's a shill, but you need to call out the rest of them as well. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, etc. is being shills too. It's all propaganda pretty much. Modern journalism, social media. It's important to remember that everyone has an agenda, and some people are better at hiding it than others, but everyone does have an agenda these days, and they increasingly it's increasingly harder for them to hide it. Then we have 4chan Chuds used AI to clothe her. She fought back from Rolling Stone on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, feels like this used to be the other way around. And I added, I think if you are a public figure, then people should be able to alter any images of you that you put out there. As I noted in my other comment, historically the problem was the other way around, people using Photoshop to undress people, but now our society has seemingly gotten so vulgar, it looks like people are complaining about going the other way now. So that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, why are Democrats funding the far right from Second Thought on YouTube by Chad Muffin, and they added vote blue no matter who, sarcasm, and I said, it goes back quite a while. I linked to the email they had from the Clinton campaign on April 7th, 2015. This memo is intended to outline strategy and goals of a potential Hillary Clinton presidential campaign would have regarding the 2016 presidential field. Clearly, most of what is contained in this memo is to work the DNC is already doing. The extra is intended to put those ideas to paper, and he said you gotta focus on these free Pied Piper candidates: Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, Ben Carson, and that's when they first started really boosting Donald Trump because they thought it'd be an easy win for Hillary, but in fact, she was such a shitty candidate, she lost to him, and now here we are today, and they didn't learn anything from that, and that's why, frankly, they deserve to lose, I would say. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the border deal was disgusting. Democrats shouldn't be campaigning on it. Democrats basically agreed to attacking immigrants so that they can get more tax money for Ukraine and Israel's wars. The Democrats' border deal attacking immigrants is outrageous, and that's from NewRepublic.com by Your National Silver One. And I guess I would agree with that. I definitely think it's all government is really all just a grift. And you definitely see how much they launder money to countries like Israel and Ukraine, while disregarding issues such as, the welfare of the people who actually live in their own countries. And that's important to, remember. Then we have our Libertarian Censor discusses and grades the U.S. Vice President's number 35, Alban W. Barkley. Harry S. Truman's VP was elected when he was a senator from Kentucky and Senate Minority Leader. Barkley was 71 at the time of his election as vice president, the oldest one elected so far. Also was the only VP to marry while in office. His previous wife died the year prior to his election as VP, and the one who the expression VP was coined for, it was done by his 10-year-old grandson, CFNM Truitt, who is still alive today. After his term, he campaigned for the Democratic nomination for POTUS, but lost to Adlai Stevenson too. If elected, he would have died during his term in office. Final grade C. That's my thoughts on him. Then we have all of the IPAC funded legislators will hate this action because it means that every single legislator funded by pro-Israel PACs will stand accused of aiding and abetting genocide in the ICJ. AIPAC should be charged of aiding and abetting the genocide of the Palestinians via political donations. And that's from that's from National Ones, a cross post from the leftist subreddit. I don't think Biden's going to like this, and it's from it's worse. The South African lawyers purring lawsuit against U.S. UK for complicity in Israel's war crimes in Gaza. And yeah, I guess I would agree with that. You need to hold the people accountable, but sadly, when you're in a position of power, ultimately you're not going to be held accountable. That's what it's shown to be, most of the time. And sadly, it looks like that's not going to change anytime soon. Then we have the hard-hitting journalism that CNN wants to see from Tucker Carlson from Kim.com on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, it's the CNN and reading Volodymyr Zelensky asking him such tough questions as what music do you like and all that, and I said Carlson can be a shield too, but to ignore that the MSM is at this point is having your head in the sand. I'm not defending Carlson. I'm calling out the CNN reporter for pretty much giving Zelensky a blowjob on camera. If you want to support Ukraine, by all means do so, but I want my media to at least try and look at things objectively, rather than just be a circle jerk. Ask Zelensky about how he justifies authoritarian policies in times of turbulence, and hardware questions like that, not softball questions like what music do you like. Then we have California elementary school spent $250,000 on woke kindergarten program, report says, from Local 12. And I posted that, and I said, this feels like self-parody at this point. I linked to the woke kindergarten website. They have pages such as Woke Wonderings, Woke Read-Alouds, Little Comrade Convos, the Woke Word of the Day, Teach Palestine, and all that. This is how bad it's getting in regards to the woke. Soon, this is how bad. Soon it will probably be illegal to not be woke. This is how bad it seems. I think it seems to be getting. Then we have, here's the latest reminder that anything which reduces Biden's re-election chances is a quote-unquote threat to our democracy, including more Democratic choices from the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus on Twitter. And I posted that. That was a quote tweeting Tom Elliott, who posted a video from MSNBC at Tara Setmeyer. Voters choosing between three parties instead of two is a threat to our democracy. And I said, when you label any dissent at all as a threat to our democracy, it sounds like you just might have an agenda. Then we have the Hawaii Supreme Court reversed the dismissal of charges for carrying without a permit today, saying that Heller and Bruin were wrongly cited in the state's rights to bear arms as an individual right. And that's from a tweet from the Firearms Policy Coalition on Twitter, and that's a post from Viper ACR, and they said, seriously, read through the decision, it's some weird shit. They literally say the spirit of Aloha was 2A, therefore we reversed the dude's conviction for carrying without CCW license. He minus was pre-run, the state wasn't issuing any CCW licenses to anyone. I said, I'm programmed, but I always like to see nullification. Now for the people of Hawaii to nullify the nullification. And then we have investigation into the actions of Adrian Malagoon, Classical Liberal Caucus, and that's from the Classical Liberal Caucus website for the Libertarian Party, and that's from Dr. 07. And apparently he might have done some corrupt things like intentionally lied to LP candidates, rigged the upcoming LP California Post panel for specific Libertarian Party candidate, manipulated the panel to benefit candidates for other parties. And ultimately, if he's, everyone's corrupted, I think, in their own way. So I don't think this is too special. But if you want to hold him accountable, I think you should be hold him accountable. But ultimately, if he has the social capital, economic capital, and force to not be held accountable, that's sometimes how life goes, and you have to deal with it. Then we have Russia is boosting calls for civil war over Texas border crisis from Wired.com by Flimsy Al 5563, and I said, it's like Blame Canada from the South Park movie, only it's Blame Russia instead. In the movie, the parents blame Canada for their children's behavior instead of taking personal responsibility. In real life, the DNC shields blame Russia for their problems instead of taking personal responsibility. It's like when they lost the 2016 election, it was like, oh, Russia rigged it. All they say is Russia. It's like if they're not blaming Trump and the Republicans for something, they're always going to be blaming Russia for something, and that's something that you need to take responsibility rather than just say, oh, it's Russia's fault. And it's kind of like the people who blame like the Jews for everything. That's just, we say, oh, they're conspiracy theorists, but when you blame Russia for everything, it's just like you're just like a typical Democratic Party member, it seems. Then we have Supreme Court justices appear skeptical of efforts to remove Trump from state ballot from NPR.org. That was posted by Doctor Who 07. And yeah, I don't. I guess if the Supreme Court doesn't want to take him off, I guess ultimately you just have to defeat him through the ballot, and I think that's how democracy should be. Whoever gets more votes wins, and ultimately that's why I'm not a big fan of democracy. It's tyranny of the majority. Some people may say, oh, but the electoral college, well, it's still the majority of the electoral votes, and that's still tyranny of the majority, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, would hate speech laws have stopped the Nazis? From Chad Muffin. That's a YouTube video from the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, and they said a great explanation of the Weimar logical fallacy and how it gives power to those you censor. And I would agree with that. Ultimately, we need free speech, and I don't think we need to be justifying censorship, even if it's for people we despise, like Nazis. Then we have labor U-turns on major policy pledges from socialtalks.com by Aftermath1716. And, that just goes to show you that, politicians, you can't take them at their word. They're always going to go back on it. And that's why, you can't trust them. Then we have the Vladimir Putin interview from Tucker Carlson Network. And I posted that, and I said, well, I didn't say anything. Donald Key said, I'm not watching this propaganda. I said, okay, watch whatever propaganda you want to. I think it is definitely propaganda to some extent, but I definitely do think it's, the bar set by CNN and all the other Western media interviewing Vladimir Zelensky did set the bar really low, and I did think Carlson exceeded that. I did think, it was kind of a Russian circle jerk, but, I definitely did like how Putin kind of went over Russian history and his personal experiences with the U.S. presidents, and how they said, oh, NATO's not going to go eastward, but then it went eastward. So, I personally don't really think that justifies his invasion of Ukraine. But with that being said, ultimately, I could see how someone in his position would justify it. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, the Biden DOJ is not charging Joe Biden because he is too mentally unwell to be accountable for his crimes. Yes, this is as their defense. This is the math nuclear codes, and that's from M Wokeness on Twitter, and I posted that, and that was they shared a clip from the paragraph from the disposition today. They said, in an interview for office, Mr. Biden's memory was worse. He did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended, if it was 2013, when I stopped being vice president, and forgetting on the second day of the interview when his term began. In 2009, am I still vice president? He did not remember even in several years when his son Bo died, and his memory appeared hazy when describing the Afghanistan debate that was once so important to him. Among other things, he mistakenly said he had a real difference of opinion of General Carl Eikenberry, when in fact Eikenberry was an ally whom Mr. Biden cited approvingly in his Thanksgiving memo to President Obama. And I said, at least it's clear he's not running the show. And so, yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.